morning, I'm Hazel Jarvis and welcome to Art Online. I think painting a little house portrait is the perfect gift for family and friends. So today, and here is our model, this charming cottage in San Francisco. As always, I start with a little sketch to warm up. So I have my sketch to refer to, my watercolors, my Kuretake 36. I've got a sheet of the Canson cold press and it's 6 inches by 12 inches, clean water, and I'll start with a pencil sketch. So it's basically a rectangle with a triangle on top, and then they're on a slope because this is San Francisco. So we'll put in the slope. So here's my finished drawing, and I've got the trees in front and I've got the traffic signs, of course, because we have to park at an angle, and we're on a slope. I'm going to add just a couple more details and then we'll start painting. So I've got my pencil drawing. Now I go back and I lighten the lines by picking up with my eraser. You probably thought the lines actually weren't dark enough when you were looking at this video, but I think they're a little too dark for this painting. So I lighten the lines. Now we start the painting. I always like to start with yellow first. So now I'm taking a little bit of artistic license and I'm painting in a nice dark snowy sky. So painting around the traffic signs. Now I'm going to mix up a grey for the side of this building, and because I'm leaving a space between the wet sky and the building, I can go straight in and not worry too much. And I'm going to paint around my traffic sign. I'm now going to paint around the building on this side. I'm going to use basically the same colours that I've used before, but just vary the mix. And I find that keeping a limited palette really makes my paintings more harmonious. And we're going to cut into the tree here to suggest foliage. And again, I leave a little space between my yellow house and this side building so I don't have to worry about the colour bleeding. We're going to cut into the foliage. And we'll dilute this grey and we'll paint in the sidewalk. And again, I like to leave some space between the building and the sidewalk so it doesn't bleed, and you can leave a little bit of space too if you want, just to suggest there's some snow on the ground. So we started with our basic shapes. We started with yellow because it's the brightest colour, and then we put in the basic shape of the side building. Now, after a few minutes to let it dry, we can go in and do some details. So basic shapes, sky, leave lots of white space because I think this looks really fresh, and also you can use it to suggest snow, which is great. Our house has some wonderful turquoise green or minty green trim, so we're going to put that in next. Just a straight line on top of the garage and around the roof. We'll take a tiny bit of our grey and put some shadow in on the garage. And a tiny bit of that same grey just underneath the roof. Same grey still, we're going to go around the door. And around the windows. Again, I take a little bit of artistic license and I simplify the windows. And down here I have a little entrance into the basement and the utilities. So we'll just mark those in. Nice and pale. There's a lovely holiday wreath on the door, so we'll put in just the suggestion of the panes of glass and then we'll add the wreath later. For the steps, we go back to our dark grey mix, the indigo and the burnt sienna, and we knock off most, very important, most of the extra paint on scrap paper, as you can see. And we'll just paint in the steps. So I'm just painting in the risers as dark horizontal lines. And we'll add the railings. You can have the windows painted blue to reflect the sky, but since it's a holiday card, I'm going to paint them in bright yellow to suggest that there's a party going on inside, or at least that there are people inside. As I say, we're using a limited colour palette, so for my dark green, I'm mixing my mint green and my indigo. Now, actually, they have a beautiful golden ginkgo tree, but we are going to make it more of a fir tree. So we're just going to do these up and down strokes, and we're going to leave lots and lots of white to suggest the snow on the bough. Our cottage has a holiday wreath, so with this same dark green, we're going to paint in a tiny wreath. Our example has 2 jade plants, but we'll just put generic plants, same green. For a couple of tiny touches of red, we'll mix number 32 and our burnt sienna 46. We'll put just a couple of tiny touches of red on the wreath, and we'll do the red for the park parallel sign. Back to the burnt sienna, knock a little bit off your brush and we'll paint in the little flower pots. Now you can either spatter with snow or you can dot with snow. I'm going to dot with snow with my Doc Martens. And I take the tip of my brush, it's a number 2, and I just lightly dot all over, and you don't want to be too regular with this, with tiny snowflakes. So here you have the completed painting, and all you need to do now is just let it dry and then erase any stray pencil lines. So I hope you've enjoyed this morning's tutorial, and I can't wait to see what you do.